Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. It is another Premier League preview show in store for you today because the Premier League does resume this weekend. It has seemingly been a long international break, but finally that is over for at least the time being, and the Premier League is set to resume this weekend with some big games in store. Some very key things to look out for as well, and here is where I'm obviously going to be talking about them and predicting the outcomes of those games. But before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and for would be greatly appreciated. But for now, let's get back to talking about this upcoming weekend's round of Premier League fixtures, beginning with Saturday's lunchtime kickoff between Crystal Palace and Tottenham. Yeah, Saturday's lunchtime fixture features Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace as they host the only Premier League side to have kicked off their season in perfect fashion in Nuno Espirito Santo's Tottenham at Selhurst Park, as Palace are still looking for their first victory of the new season. The international break can sometimes disrupt teams' momentum a little, and it can be a week or two before they get back to their original form again. But I don't really see that being a problem for Spurs here. I think that Palace will be tough opposition, of course they will, but I believe that Tottenham will make it 4 wins from 4 here, and I'm going to predict that they will win 2-1 come the final whistle. Next, we come to one of Saturday's 3 o'clock kickoffs, and the first game we come across is Brentford hosting Brighton. The home side is still unbeaten since their arrival in the Premier League, picking up 5 points from their opening 3 games, whilst Brighton will be looking to bounce back from their last game where they were beaten by Everton, ending their perfect start to the season. Interesting game, this one. Brentford have taken to life very well upon arriving in the Premier League, and it will be interesting to see if they can keep that up going forward, whilst Brighton have started the season strong despite their last defeat obviously to Everton last time out. The result here genuinely could go any which way. It wouldn't surprise me whichever way this game did go, so I'm going to kind of call it down the middle. I'm going to go for a draw and say that this game will end as a 2-2 draw. Our next game may actually be the biggest game of this round of fixtures, but a more interesting game has certainly caught my eye, so I'm going to be leaving that game till last. But we are going to be focusing on Leicester versus Manchester City next. And this is obviously going to be the second time this season that Brendan Rodgers' Leicester meets Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, after obviously these two teams did meet in the Community Shield last month, in which the Foxes came out victorious in that game. It's not been the most convincing of starts to the Premier League's campaign by Leicester, despite 2 wins out of 3, while City have had, with all due respect, 2 very easy games for them since, of course, their opening day defeat to Tottenham. And they, of course, came with back-to-back victories, back-to-back 5-0 victories, I should say, against the likes of Norwich and Arsenal. I think if Leicester's defence is strong enough and their counter-attacking game is on point in this game, they really could hurt and cause City some major problems within this game. And again, with saying that, the result, any which way, I wouldn't be surprised at, but I'm going to predict a 2-2 draw here. I've gone back and forth over this several times, but I'm going to predict a 2-2 draw in this game. Next, it's not really much of a game of focus, it's more of a player of focus, because it's the return of Cristiano Ronaldo to Old Trafford, as our next game of focus is Manchester United against Newcastle. Last time out, United beat Wolves 1-0, whilst Newcastle are still looking for their first win of the season. Simply put, Cristiano Ronaldo takes centre stage here. He takes the spotlight. I bet BT and Sky are both kicking themselves for not getting this game live on TV, because imagine the viewing figures of seeing Ronaldo back in a United shirt, back at Old Trafford, and of course playing in the Premier League once again. Instead, it's a 3 o'clock game, so it won't be shown on TV, but it will be shown on TV around the rest of the world outside of the UK, because That's just how broadcasting rights are, and it's a stupid thing, and it is probably another debate for another day to have. Back to the game though, it's another one that I can see United winning here, and for Ronaldo to not only re-debut for the club that he left, of course, 12 years ago, but I bet he will get on the score sheet as well. Yeah, United win here is what I'm predicting. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side. The Saints take on the Hammers in our next game at St Mary's as Southampton host West Ham. Last time out, Southampton drew 2-2 with Newcastle, whilst West Ham saw their perfect start to the season end with a 2-2 draw themselves against Crystal Palace. Interesting game this one. Southampton have surprised me a little bit in terms of how much fight they've shown so far this season, but it's clear that without a consistent enough goal scorer, they are going to struggle, whilst they're coming up against an opposition who have an on-fire, in-form player in the form of Mikel, who started the season like a greyhound out of a trap. I think West Ham get back to winning ways in this game. I'm going to predict a 3-1 West Ham win. The Hornets clash with the Wolves as Watford take on Wolves in our next game. Both sides are looking to bounce back from 1-0 defeats before the international break, as the home side lost to Tottenham whilst the away side lost to Manchester United. Mixed start to the season for Watford upon their return to the Premier League, whilst Wolves have looked very good and played some nice football at times, but the only thing that's let them down is simply they just cannot score. They have failed to score so far this season, but I think that curse may be about to lift. I think it will be lifted in this game, as I predict that Wolves will not only score in this game, but will also win here, and that's why I'm going for a 2-1 scoreline in favour of Wolves. Stamford Bridge plays host to Saturday's evening fixture as Chelsea clash with Aston Villa. The Blues drew 1-1 with Liverpool last time out, whilst Villa drew 1-1 with Brentford before the international break. This should be a very interesting and exciting game in store for us. Chelsea obviously one of the favourites to go on and win the Premier League title this season, whilst Villa's summer spending has surrounded the club with high expectations and a lot of intrigue. Villa very well could take a point here. They very well could get a result. But I'm going to go for the slightly more safer option in my opinion and say that Chelsea will win this game, and I'm predicting that the Blues will come out as 2-1 winners for Thomas Tuchel's side. Next we go on to Sunday's only Premier League fixture of the day as Leeds take on Liverpool. Leeds are yet to win so far this season, whilst Liverpool have taken 7 points from a possible 9. With last time's draw against Chelsea, the 1-1 draw that they endured there, being the result that ended their perfect start to the season. Leeds haven't quite found their rhythm yet so far this season, whilst Liverpool have looked solid so far, but of course there is still room for improvement. And last time out against Chelsea was obviously a big example of that, where the Blues were down to 10 men throughout the entirety of the second half, and it may have seemed like a bit of a missed opportunity for Liverpool that they weren't able to go on and take advantage of that and go on and win that game. But if you were to offer many Liverpool fans the opportunity before a ball was even kicked this season of having 7 points out of their first 3 fixtures, I'm sure many of them would have bitten your hand off. Interesting game this one between two obviously high pressing and attacking sides. It could create quite the contest and maybe even a high scoring encounter that this game proved to be last season. But I can't obviously back against Liverpool. I can't back against my team, and so that's why I'm saying that Liverpool win this game, and I'm predicting a 3-1 scoreline. In our penultimate game on this list, we come to Goodison Park for Monday night's fixture between Everton and Burnley. Everton are still unbeaten this season, whilst Burnley drew 1-1 with Leeds last time out. The Toffees have begun life well under Rafa Benitez, whilst Burnley haven't surprised many with their usual and typical kind of Burnley approach to how they've gone about things so far this season. Interesting game ahead, could go any which way. A draw seems very likely, but for some reason I'm going to give Everton the edge here, and I'm going to say that the home side will win 2-1 come the final whistle. And finally, could this be Mikel Arteta's final stand as Arsenal manager? Two teams yet to win at all this season, both sat rock bottom of the table, clash at the Emirates. Arsenal host Norwich Saturday afternoon. Terrible start to the season on both clubs, but when you look at it, both sides have faced tough opposition, if you're going to be kind to them, in their opening 3 games of the campaign. Arsenal losses could all be expected to happen. It's just the manner of the defeats that's what has what upset Arsenal fans the most. Not necessarily the losses, but the manner of which there was no fight in any of those losses to try and make it right. Losses to Brentford, losses to Chelsea and Manchester City, they all can happen, but not even putting up much of a fight in those games would have obviously hurt the Arsenal fans more. Whilst Norwich were beaten by Liverpool, battered by Manchester City, and despite a more spirited performance, were ultimately beaten as well by Leicester. 3 very tough encounters to kick off your new season with, and back in the Premier League. The upside is that they got them out the way early. I guess that's all you can say as far as from a Norwich perspective. A loss for the Gunners here may just be the final nail in the coffin for Mikel Arteta, despite reports claiming that he's got until the next international break to put things right and to turn things around at Arsenal. But for Arsenal, their season starts in this game. Like I say, you can write off Brentford at the beginning of the season, you can write off Chelsea, you can write off Manchester City, because not many teams are going to go there this season and pick up any or many points from them 2 teams in particular. So their season starts now. It's likely that a draw will happen here. It tends to sort of happen in this kind of game with this kind of scenario, but I am going to give the edge to Arsenal here. I think that they will finally pick up their first win of the season. I'm predicting a 2-1 Gunners win. But of course, as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this weekend's upcoming round of Premier League fixtures? What are your own predictions for these games? I'd love to know them down in the comment section below, because I'm sure they'll all make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always and incredibly greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League prediction show, and I will see you all again soon in another video.